Happy holidays, Phantom Fam! I hope the year has treated you well. I'm Kate.
And I'm Nat.
And this is Wading into the Void. We are back. We are back with another episode. Surprise, surprise. Before we start, I cannot believe how fast this year has flown by. It's like we hit August and someone hit like fast forward on the remote control of this simulation. Mm-hmm. It's ridiculous. I mean, come on. It's going to be Christmas in a couple of days.
Like, literally.
And then New Year's here before we know it.
I know. Do you have any, holiday plans?
Well, I am going to go to the Honey's place. He's going to come to my place. Then he's going to go to his dad's place. And then I'm going to come back here.
Place?
And it's also, I don't think we've shared. No, we totally have.
What?
My birthday's also on Christmas.
Oh, yeah.
So
yeah,
I have, like, the whole,
you said you're related to Jesus, and I was like,
yes.
What the fuck are you talking about?
Yes, yes. We had that conversation. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be a fairly mellow Christmas. I hope nothing crazy happens. Usually we don't really have that much family drama at my last name family Christmas. So I almost dropped that, and we are not having that. But what about you? Anything exciting?
I'm having 2 Christmas parties. One at my aunt's house, and then the other at my other aunt's house. So, one on Christmas Eve and one on Christmas Day. So we're gonna just have one. The first one on Christmas Day is just going to be, like, me, my cousin, my aunt. And it's going to be, like, a girls thing. And then Christmas Day is going to be, like, the whole family eating, like, lunch or dinner or whatever.
Nice.
But, yeah, it's going to be pretty low-key. We were going to do Christmas morning at my house, but we haven't got enough finished in the house.
That's fair. Shoot for next year.
Yeah, I was like, next year when everything else is done, because there's really not much left to do besides clean and organize and put in kitchen flooring. So,
I mean, you've been working on that kitchen for a hot minute, so it's understandable.
The kitchen was what kind of, it was our first project, and then we kept having to wait on a lot of stuff, so we did all of our other projects in the meantime. So we've been working on everything else in the house. We still have the kitchen to do. Yeah. So, yeah.
I mean, it looks good so far. Like, all of you have no idea what it looks like, but
my house just needs to get cleaned. Like, I need to hire someone to help organize. That's what it is. It's so bad.
Oh.
I don't have storage.
I have a love-hate relationship with organizing.
Yeah, me too.
I love the satisfaction of doing it, but with the ADHD, when I start hoeing things out, I get so distracted.
Yeah.
So I'm like, ooh, do I want to throw this away? No. And then here comes the freaking train wreck that is the holidays, and then trying to fit all of the stuff you get into your house. But I have something a little different for us today.
Oh, Katie, I need to tell you, I think I know what one of my Christmas presents is.
What?
I think it's a ghost hunt.
No.
Yes.
Not for me.
No.
But maybe for you.
No, I think it from my aunt.
Of the place?
Of what place?
Oh, I thought you were talking about your cousin's place. No,
like an actual ghost hunt
would be so much fun.
An actual, like, group ghost hunt.
That's so fun.
Yeah. So
I'm so excited for you.
Yeah.
I know one of mine is not, so.
No, I'm like, content!
You're like, yeah.
I'm gonna buy a GoPro specifically for it.
Do it. I love it. I mean, freaking ghost hunt. Your first ghost hunt, my dude.
That would be fun. Well, not really my first legitimate one.
Yeah.
So we used to do them when we were kids, but I really hope that's what it is. My aunt said she's super excited for it, and I was like, if we could do this as, like, a family, like, everyone who does the tarot parties going on a group ghost hunt.
That would be fun.
And bringing, like, tarot and stuff like that, and, like, a pendulum. Oh, my God.
Ooh. I'm into it.
Yeah. And, of course, you'd be invited, because it'd be a group. So.
Wading into the void content.
Yeah.
So everyone cross your fingers and toes is what we're saying, because you're going to be hearing this, if I remember right, like maybe 3 or 4 days before Christmas.
Yeah, a couple days before. So if I'm, like, crying tears of joy, like,
in the next episode.
You
know.
Yeah. Or if I'm shitting my pants, that could also be the case.
Speaking of shitting your pants, let's not get our stomachs in a twist as we head in to our twisted version of, you know, the holiday spirit. Mm-hmm. In honor of that, I have an old-timey Christmas true crime case to share with you today.
Wait, I think I know what it is, but I'll let you go. Because I just had,
I'll give you a chance to guess after.
Okay.
I promise.
Okay.
But before I reveal anything, we need to head into Nat's domain.
Oh, yes.
And listen to our oracle and tarot readings for this episode. So give us all the gift of reading those cards.
Okay. So, our oracle deck, we're going back to the Rebel deck because I really enjoyed it the last time we used it. 0 filter plus 0 fucks equals all fun. That's what it says.
Perfect for the holidays.
So, it doesn't say who wrote it, like I said last time, but if you are interested in getting yourself a Rebel deck, you can get it at rebeldeck.com. They should sponsor us.
Honestly?
We could email them.
Yeah. Do it! I mean, I guess I should do it, considering I handle the marketing, so...
I don't know. We
yelling
can work
at myself.
Together.
Do it.
Okay, so the Rebel deck for today, the card says, you're going through some tough shit.
Oh. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays! And then the other side says, everyone has their turn. Welcome to yours. Gather your tired ass up and handle it.
Motivational.
Honestly, that's exactly what I needed to read because I have been so astronomically tired that I can't do anything. But hearing that, I'm like, oh God, I guess I gotta get up. And then...
Me, I just restarted my diet today.
Let's go. I've been fasting.
We're recording this.
I think I lost like 6 or 7 pounds already.
Yay to us.
Yeah.
Getting off our ass and doing the damn thing.
Yeah.
Okay, times are hard.
We gotta get this. I gotta lose weight because I have liver disease. Plot twist.
Yes. Hi, everyone.
Hi, everyone. I have liver disease. I'm not dying. Well, I mean, the liver disease that I have is because I'm overweight. So the only thing I can do is lose weight. And if I'm not losing weight, I'm just making myself sicker. So
how is that for some motivation?
I know.
I mean, like, it's literally something you cannot control.
Yeah. So whatever.
But yeah, so Nat's going through it. We're vibing.
We're vibing.
Okay.
Okay, and so our tarot deck for today, I wanted to kind of go back because this is our special holiday episode, and I wanted to go back to our favorite holiday, which is Halloween. So I pulled out the horror tarot deck as a throwback. but also the decks are crazy today. They be wildin'. They said, because at first I was like, I want to pull cards that the listeners need to hear, because last time I was like, I'm selfish. And then the cards were like, nah, you still need to hear this shit.
It was like, psych.
So
try again, bitch.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I don't even know. But the Horror Tarot deck is by Aria Mitter and Minerva Siegel, illustrated by Abigail Larson. And today's card is a reversed card per usual. That's just how it works. But we got the Four of Pentacles, which reverse... Okay, so here's what it looks like. It's just like spiderweb pentacles and stuff. It's kind of cool.
I love the simplicity of it, honestly.
Yeah, it's pretty simple. There's no spider or anything. It's just a spider web. But reversed meaning, it says, you're worried that you will not have enough, but you have plenty. Oh. You're focused on what you need and not what is already in your possession. Remember to not be greedy with what you have, but be grateful for it. That's pretty good.
I mean, honestly, that is a perfect tarot card for going into the holidays.
That is also very true.
So it reminds us all to just
be thankful for what you have.
Yeah.
Throwback to Thanksgiving.
Yes. I mean, they all kind of lump together.
Yes.
It works.
Definitely.
Now, Nat.
Okay.
Here's your chance to guess today's topic. There are some pretty well-known cases out there, but, you know, I want to give you a guess, even though I'm pretty sure you will not guess it correctly.
Okay.
And if you do, I will piss myself right here on the spot.
Is it the, like, axe murders from, like, the 1800s?
Ah, the Vissela axe murders?
Maybe.
I thought about it.
Oh.
But then I was like, I'm saving that for more.
Okay.
I'm not doing it
See,
today.
that's what I was thinking with that one. Because that was like
some iconic ones.
I know that one was like
that one.
iconic snowy one. I don't know if it was Christmas, but it was like snowy farm.
It was
house.
like Christmas Day.
Really?
When they found those bodies. Yeah.
Wow, I was right on the money for something Christmas.
And honestly, that's what I was going to do when I started this out.
Oh, but it's not.
I was like, you know what? I don't want to go into that one right now because I don't want to get like all the super well-known cases out of the way.
Well, because that one's unsolved. Within our
first few episodes.
One's unsolved, right?
Yes. And we have one that is solved today.
Oh, okay.
We are going to be covering a case that took place in a place that you love, a state specifically.
Kentucky?
Ashland, Kentucky.
Oh, shit! I love Kentucky.
Specifically in 1881.
Oh, I was so close with the time period.
Older case. Yeah. Yes, you were. You were very close.
Wow.
In the spirit of the holidays, I didn't want to bring up a more, like, recent Christmas case.
Yeah.
And trust me, there were plenty to choose from.
Yeah.
But for the sake of, like, any families that could come across this in some capacity, at this time of year especially, I didn't want to open any or further irritate any wounds.
Yeah.
So I figured a case from over 100 years ago is pretty safe. Like, I don't think anyone's going to be too sensitive to that.
Also, it's good you didn't do the axe murders because we just did Lizzie Borden.
That was also the other thing. I won't lie to you.
So next year.
I thought about doing the Axeman of New Orleans, but I was like, not for this one, but for like an upcoming episode.
We gotta wait like 6 months for anything axe related.
Exactly. I'm like, you just talked about someone getting hacked up, so probably shouldn't.
Yeah. It's like reusing the same content almost.
Exactly. Yeah. So I'm like, let's give it some time. I mean, the Axeman of New Orleans is one of my favorite cases.
Oh, really?
I don't know if it's because it's in New Orleans
Probably.
or it's like the kind of phantom of it all.
Ooh.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I consider the Axeman of New Orleans, it's not on the same level, I'm not saying that, but I consider him the United States version of Jack the Ripper.
Interesting.
Because you have that same kind of fascination around it.
Yeah.
You know, the little weird, like, phantom spirit-esque vibe of what's going on.
Ah, Jack the
with
Ripper
the letters
so
and
up.
everything, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But if you love Jack the Ripper or the Axeman of New Orleans, shout out to Morbid. They covered both of them really well. They actually covered Jack the Ripper in, I believe, 5 parts.
Wow. Well, it really does deserve that because there were so many suspects, but I think I know who it was. The young man. I think his name's like William. He was obsessed with like torture and sadism and would draw really disturbing imagery of like ripping women's like intestines and uteruses out and stuff. So I was like,
charming.
Like he was a young doctor.
I'm
like,
lovely.
It's stacking up. Come on.
You're like, okay, this makes sense. You chose the right career path.
Yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, if you're interested in either of those things, go check them out. But I mentioned before, we are doing something very different today in how I tell this story.
Okay.
Let's start by setting the scene, shall we?
Okay.
Now, once again, forgive me if this isn't the way we usually do things in these parts, but I want to try something a bit different. I mean, why not? Year 1, it's the time to experiment. Now, without further ado, let's flip the first page of our action-packed story.
Ooh, okay.
It's the late morning hours of Christmas Eve in Ashland, Kentucky, a small town nestled along the Ohio River. The feeling of holiday cheer is in the air, but like every other day, things remain calm and quiet, the way the townsfolk like. Just like you, the small population begins to awaken, and an unusual feeling starts to creep in. You can't place it, but the hair on the back of your neck has started to rise.
Ooh.
Something feels off. You look outside your window and see there's a light snow falling. Not uncommon at this time of year, but the more it falls, the more the air begins to shift around you. Instead of the bright white powdery puffs, gray chunks filter around. That's when you know it's not snow at all. It's ash.
Ash.
Your head snaps up when the faint smell of smoke tickles your nose. In the distance, you can make out flames rising from a house down the street. People are flooding into view. Your neighbors, some still clad in their sleeping clothes. You can hear them yelling and shouting, their noises taking the place of the eerie silence from before. Throwing on your coat, you run outside to join them and watch as the fire brigade puts all of their effort into drowning out the fire. The local detectives and investigators standing just far enough away that the fire cannot cause them harm. You watch on frightfully as smoke dissipates and mixes with the clouds overhead. When it's cleared enough for the detectives to enter the ruins, a shocking wail echoes from Mrs. Thomas, the woman who lives next door to the burnt shell of a home. That's when you see it. A body. No. Bodies. Being dragged out of the wreckage by the investigators and volunteers. You can feel the tea you just drank start to turn in your stomach, but you can't help but step closer. Your neighbors are gossiping, and you can't help but overhear what one woman says. She heard that Mrs. Thomas' daughter was spending the night in the burnt house last night with her neighbors, Robert and Franny Gibbons. Their own mother being out for the evening. Your heart sinks for the woman. The detectives wandering past chat about how the poor woman called it in herself. They're on her way to greet another man carrying a briefcase. He's dressed exceptionally well, and judging by the way they're leading him directly to the bodies, you come to the conclusion that he must be some type of doctor. You watch for a short while as he stands over and prods at the burnt remains of the 3 children. Abandoning your watch, for some unknown reason, your muscles begin to tense. As you're climbing the steps up to your front door, you see 3 men lurking on the outskirts of the street. They've kept out of the sight of the investigators and are hiding behind a mixture of trees and bushes. Just as your hand begins to twist the doorknob, one of their heads snaps in your direction. You pause, startled by the recognition, and watch as the man slowly draws one finger to his lips, shushing you. With wide eyes, you scramble inside and lock your door, quickly checking all the other entrances. Worry floods your veins, the feeling of sadness on behalf of the children fading as it's overtaken by your own fear. The face of the man was one you didn't recognize. Even in a town as small as Ashland, there are strangers. You try your hardest not to look outside, not wanting to catch the eye of the stranger again, but you can't help but peek. Your neighbors have all been ushered inside by investigators, and the crime scene is empty, with the exception of a few lingering detectives. After all, a few hours have passed since you locked yourself inside, and mid-afternoon is setting in. The sun is starting to set, and the lights are coming to life outside. You hope your neighbors are holding up better than you are, and that Miss Thomas is being well tended to. Thoughts so far?
I'm so intrigued. I couldn't even make noises because I was, listening to the story.
Yeah, this is that little different part that I said we were going to try.
Yeah, I like it.
It's a change of pace.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I do like it. I like it a lot. It's very encapsulating, or encapturing. Yeah.
Whatever the word is.
Yeah.
But let's continue with the next day.
Okay.
You're sitting in the parlor the following day, reading the morning's paper, your stomach growing increasingly uneasy. You just found out that the 3 teenagers who died yesterday were not the victims of a fire, but rather they died at the hands of a vicious murder. The doctor you witnessed yesterday revealed that he believed them to have been bludgeoned to death. The 2 girls sexually assaulted as well. Your mind races and your heart clenches as you have a brief flashback to the man you saw yesterday. Reading further down the page, you see that a few of your neighbors have organized a collection to hire a professional investigator. Someone needs to get to the bottom of this mystery. You make the decision to contribute, and you make your way to give your donation. The town hall isn't far. Days pass in a blur of uneasiness after that. Very little new information has come to light, and the newspapers haven't released anything new. The town did manage to hire that investigator you donated to, and he's been making his rounds, interviewing different members of society, but you haven't been questioned yet. You keep wondering, is today the day? You make sure not to abandon your property for long, just in case. Your time comes within the week, though, and you sit down for a cup of tea with the investigator and J.M. Huff, the secretary of the fundraising committee. Throughout your discussion with them, you recall everything you can from the 23rd and 24th of December, making sure to mention the hidden strangers and describing their appearance to the best of your memory. Heavy coats, woolen hats, mittens. You find that the investigator has a couple of suspects in mind, but he won't reveal too much information. Instead, you'll have to wait, just like the remaining members of the town, to watch the investigation unfold. And wait you shall. As the new year came and went, you and your neighbors became increasingly uncomfortable, and the killer still remains at large. The days seem to drag on, without any sort of justice being served. The victims were buried in the local cemetery, and their services were quaint. You can still hear the faint sobs of their parents. It wasn't until early January that the investigator came up with some groundbreaking information on the case. One of his original suspects led to the needle in the haystack.
Ooh.
Originally suspecting John Gibbons, the father of two of the victims, who was quickly exonerated. It was actually town gossip that would do in one of the killers.
One?
Yes, one of them. During a conversation at the town's general store, a man named George Ellis showed a disconcerting amount of suspicion when speaking about the suspects in the case. He chalked his discomfort up to stately evidence, which often meant that one person involved admitted to the crime, but reportedly any other partakers, they could get a reduced sentence. That is just what he did to clear his conscience. During his interrogation, he gave up the names of two other men, William Neal and George Kraft. According to Ellis, the plan was premeditated by Kraft and went as far as to break it down into detail. Ellis said, "A few evenings prior, on the 24th, I met Kraft, who stated that he was going to see Fanny Gibbons and take her some black candy, that he thought he was going to have intercourse with her. And he wanted me to come along."
Why?
That shall remain unknown. About midnight, the fatal night, we all started, Kraft, Neal, and myself, and we went to the house. Kraft raised the window with an old axe and stepped in first.
Oh, goody.
Neal followed, and I stayed behind on the porch afterwards. But I soon went in. Robbie was the first aroused, and started to get up when Kraft said, "You had better lie still." Kraft then went on to the bed where the two girls were sleeping and began to take improper liberties with them. Robbie said, "You had better stay away from there," when Kraft hit him with the axe. He fell back on the lounge, then plunged forward and fell fully 6 feet from the bed, under the stairs where he was found. The girls screamed when Kraft jumped on the bed, and they both said, "George Kraft, what are you here for?" Emma also started to jump from the bed when Neal choked her and pulled her onto the floor. She fought him, and I held her while he outraged her. Neal then struck her on the floor and hit her in the head with the big end of the crowbar he had brought, and she instantly died after throwing up her hands. Kraft also had some trouble with Fanny Gibbons and called on me to come and help him. He then outraged her and killed her. Neal proposed killing the girls, and after they were dead, I took some coal oil, poured it over their bodies, and set fire to them with a match. We then left the house. Later on, Ellis also added that the other men forced him at gunpoint to come along that night. When they had all the men in custody, their hearings were quickly arranged. On the day of the hearings, the entire town was shut down so all of its inhabitants could attend. It took little time for the three men's trial to be set for January 16th. Now, we're about 30 minutes into the episode. And we're nearly at the end. But now, I want to hear your thoughts so far.
I don't think he was held at gunpoint, first of all.
I don't want to give much away.
Okay. Well, I think that they're all nasty fucks. Probably.
Oh, well, obviously. Definitely.
This makes me so angry.
And keep in mind,
how old are the victims?
That's what I was just going to say. I believe Robbie was 17 and Fanny and Emma were, I believe, 15 and 14.
And how old are these guys?
Significantly older. Late 30s, maybe early 40s, I think. This is 1881, so, like, at this time, they're considered, like, older, right? But the teenagers are considered grown adults. They could have gotten married at this time. It's 1881.
Ugh.
But Fanny is still significantly younger. But it's said that she matured much faster than a lot of the women her age. So she had already grown into, like, a woman's body. And all the typical bullshit that old-timey men like to state for their disgustingness. But these are still children.
Yeah.
Like, they're teenagers. They're young.
Children.
So, rightfully so, this town is outraged.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a small town, but they shut this entire sucker down so every single member could attend these trials. Keep that in mind, right?
There seems to... So, is the whole town, like, hating these people right now?
Absolutely. Furious.
It reminds me
Blood boiled.
It reminds me of that one unsolved case. Something Rex is the guy's name. The guy's name is, like, Rex. The whole town hated him. He was, like, harassing an entire town, and nobody could do anything to stop him.
And then one man shot him one day when he was leaving the bar.
And nobody spoke a word of it, ever. And they lived, like, free because...
Yep.
Because everybody hated this guy.
I'm pretty sure... Like, I think I saw that one on BuzzFeed Unsolved.
Yes,
and
yeah.
They were like, yeah, the sheriff showed up, and they were like, what happened? And the guy was like, oh, he attacked me, I defended myself. Even though I'm pretty sure the Rex guy was shot in, like, the back of the head, and they were just like, chill.
Yeah, he was in his truck. He was in his truck, and he was shot in the back of the head.
Meanwhile, he had, like, a 14-year-old wife, and he was, like, in his 30s or something.
Yeah, basically. This guy was a shit-ass person. So, this kind of reminds me of that, like a small town kind of ganging up against the bad guys.
Yeah, and it only gets a little wackier as we keep going.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, it's time to wrap this one up.
Okay.
And I don't think you're ready for this kind of, like, roller coaster of what's about to happen here.
Okay. I'm nervous.
It came as no surprise that all three men were found guilty. The shocker was that not all three men received the same sentence. In February, Neal and Kraft were sentenced to hang, the date of their executions being set for April 14th, 1882. However, at the same time, Ellis changed his story. He revoked his previous confession that Neal and Kraft committed the murders alongside him, and then claimed that it was himself and two African-American men who committed the murders.
What?
This was quickly disproven by newly found evidence. Ellis then tried to claim insanity.
What?
Keep in mind...
He just doesn't want to die!
Exactly. But Ellis changed his story after having spent the night in the jail in the same room with Neal and Kraft. So, did he get a little beating? He might have gotten a little beating.
Yeah. Because he's the one that first told, right?
Yes.
She.
When April came around, Neal and Kraft were set to receive a retrial on the grounds that the judge misspoke during the original sentencing.
What?
Yup. The date of their new trial was undecided, but the date of May 22nd was the day that the two men attempted to escape from prison with a group of other inmates.
Huh?
Yup, they tried to escape jail. This here just fueled the people of Ashland's anger. It had been months since the murders of the three teens, and nothing had yet to be done about it.
It's awful.
Later that month, on May 30th, George Ellis had his trial, to which he was convicted of murdering only Robert Gibbons. The jury deliberated for 22 hours before they came back with the decision of life in prison. A sentence which the people of Ashland did not appreciate. They wanted to see him hang. The Friday after George's sentencing, because we're in June now.
Oh my God.
Around midnight, a group of 18 masked men kidnapped George from the train he was being transported on. So these 18 men hijacked this freaking train.
What?
Dragged him back to Ashland, where they proceeded to tie him to a tree, violently lynch him, and left his body to rot in the elements until the next day. We interrupt this tale to ask you to hold your thoughts on vigilante justice until the end. Later on, in October now, Neal and Kraft were tried again a year after the crime was initially committed. The townsfolk were once again riled up, and the two men were placed under armed protection by a local militia to ensure the same type of attack and capture didn't happen again.
Oh, God. What? I mean, okay.
Armed protection, right?
Armed protection. Okay.
These men were set to hang. That was the jury's decision. They were set to hang. But not for a hot minute afterwards. So they were going to be transported somewhere else, for the time being, back to their little prison to sit and wait for a hot minute. However, despite the court's efforts, when the two men were being escorted by steamboat back to their prison, because they saw that the train didn't work out so well last time, they decided steamboat this time. Their transportation was hijacked by a mob of 200 men and boys, demanding the return of them to Ashland.
What? 200?
200 men and boys.
Where did they come from? I thought Ashland was tiny.
It was, but
that's like all the men and boys.
This is like, it's like national news at this point, at least in statewide news in Kentucky. The people are pissed, right? Yeah. So, this steamboat's hijacked. And from my understanding, these men and boys were lined up along the banks of the river, I believe the Ohio River, where these men were going to be transported by steamboat. And they were like, bet it's not happening.
Oh my gosh.
So, it is undetermined who fired the first shot.
Oh.
But soon, bullets were flying left and right. And before anyone knew what was happening, the prisoners, citizens of the town, and, some unfortunate crossfire, lots of people were dead.
Oh.
Some left severely injured. And not gravely, but just, injured. Mm-hmm. So, what started with vicious bloodshed ended with vicious bloodshed.
So, what does that solve?
Nothing.
Exactly. There's more
now
death.
I ask you, Nat, and you, our lovely listeners, was justice served? How do you feel about vigilante justice?
I think...
And why must people always commit such terrible crimes during the most wonderful time of the year?
Okay, I'll answer every single one of those questions. I think the first vigilante...
Yes.
With
George Ellis.
With George Ellis. I think that was right to do. Because I don't think that he would have gotten that same verdict in any scenario. And he deserved to die if he was a part of it. In this scenario. I'm not saying...
Not to mention, he snitched.
Yeah.
And then tried to backtrack. So he could get a lesser sentence.
And then tried to include, like, random-ass people who don't even exist. Like, what?
Yeah, like, he couldn't even name the names of the two, quote-unquote, African-American men that helped him in the crime.
But I think the other two deaths were very not right. They were going to die. Mm-hmm. They were going to be hanged. They should have hanged.
I think the people of Ashland wanted to see to it themselves.
But so many other people died, though.
They did. I couldn't get a count on how many. But some other people died alongside the...
Which is not fair, because the whole point is to get rid of the bad guys and not to just have a lot more shed blood that didn't need to happen.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
And then I think... What was your other question?
Thoughts on vigilante justice in general?
That one's a tough one. I think in most cases it's wrong.
Yes.
In some cases, like the ones we talked about, the Rex guy and this, if there's literally no other option and somebody's going to get away basically scot-free for causing pain and suffering to people, I think it's okay.
That's also my opinion. Like, there's only so many times things can be run through the court system and been completely, like, ignored or not solved. Especially at this time, you know? Where you're like, okay,
and then
whatever.
Your last question, why does this happen?
During the most wonderful time of the year.
I think lonely people do shit things because they're unhappy and they want to take it out on other people.
Yeah. I think that's a pretty fair reason. Because I was going through and I was searching, like, Christmas crimes for this episode. And there were so many recent crimes. Like, I cannot tell you the number of recent crimes.
And I feel like there are probably more
specifically on Christmas.
Probably more during COVID, too.
A lot of them actually happened in the early 2000s. Like, between 2000 and, like, 2015. Mm-hmm. So that was a little surprising, considering I hadn't heard of, like, any of them. But there were some pretty gnarly ones. But quickly, before we wrap this one up, I want to know what you thought of, like, the introduction to this case. More of a story format instead of a recounting, but back to normal kind of by the end. Mm-hmm. If you liked it, maybe I'll do something like this again. But the main reason I formatted it this way in the first place was because I wanted to kind of tell you, like, a story, even if it was a little twisted, in the spirit of Christmas, you know what I mean?
'Twas the night before Christmas and these children died. Basically.
Kind of.
No, I really liked it. I thought it was really creative, and I want to do an episode like that because I feel like it'd be easier for me to write. Mm-hmm.
It adds a little bit of liberty to it, you know, creative liberty.
Yeah.
But part of the reason why I did it was because I wanted to stomp out some of the gorier details in honor of the holidays.
Yeah.
Keep it a little lighter. I mean, obviously, this is an actual case that happened. Like, this isn't something I made up.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, the complete step-by-step of, like, what I described is most likely not the exact events of, like, what happened the day of the final crime. But it's close enough to that it doesn't make as much of a difference. Mm-hmm. But I just wanted to hear your thoughts, you know? I want to hear the listeners' thoughts on this format, like what you're thinking, what you're feeling. And you can tell us what you thought of this episode, whether you loved it, hated it, or something in between on our Discord server, which will be linked below this episode, or on our social media channels. You can find us on Instagram and TikTok at
Wading Into the Void.
And if you'd like to offer us your support in the form of a monthly donation to this show, Nat is going to fill you in on how you can do just that.
We have 2 different options for you. One that we don't really use at all, which is Patreon.
Yes.
You can search us up by our name and donate through there. We don't really do anything with the tiers, but we could in the future.
We honestly might take them down.
Yeah, we might take it down. But Anchor offers a really great way to donate to us, which is through Spotify and Anchor, because they're the same company, basically. If you click on our Spotify page, we have the link directly on our front page. Or if you listen to us on Anchor, you can donate directly from our page as well. And that, you don't really get anything in return. You're just supporting us and showing us how much you love us.
And enjoy this.
So if you want to donate for holiday cheer, that would be awesome.
And if you're listening to July of 2023, same fact applies.
Yes. Christmas in July. But also, if you want to get your tax deductions and get those donations out there, you can also do that before the end of the year. Just putting it out there. Happy end of the year for tax season. Let's get ready.
From the accountant herself. Yes.
Yep.
Now, time is here to wrap this episode up in a nice little bow. To our most beloved Phantom fam, we wish you the happiest of holidays, no matter what you celebrate. Light your menorahs, your kanaras. I hope I said that right. Or, let the lights on your Christmas tree sparkle and bask in the feeling of love, joy, and generosity. Happy holidays from us to you. Love, Kate.
And Nat.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. Happy holidays. Happy birthday!
Thank you!
As the great, what the fuck is his name? Frosty the Snowman says.
Yes.
Happy birthday!
And very quick before we end this episode, if you want to wish Katie a happy birthday, you can do so on our Instagram channels. Goodbye.
Bye!